today we're going to be adding 2 note cards to the voice column. So you're going to have 2 note cards, you're going to have your verb flip chart, you're going to have a pencil, and you'll need 2 pieces of tape. If you don't have tape at home, hopefully you tape these in class. So go ahead and get those things out so that we can get started. Okay, so you're going to have to imagine that I have a verb flip chart because one of my beautiful, beautiful children who shall remain nameless, you know who you are, has my verb flip chart. So I can't put these in my verb flip chart. So you guys are going to tape these in to the voice column just like this. Okay, so you're making the, tiered system. The first note card is going to have the word active. And the second note card is going to have the word passive. On the active, you're going to put subject equals doer right on the tab and Mickey Mouse. Okay? Because the active voice endings are your Mickey Mouse endings. O-S-T, M-U-S-T, I-S-N-T, Mickey Mouse, present tense. Okay, those are your verb endings. Now, for the passive voice, you're going to put here subject receiver. Okay? And then you're going to put the actual endings. Now you can put the word soul sister because the endings have the soul sister endings. Okay, so that's what it'll look like. Okay, take a moment, write that down. You can pause the video. Now let's work with the active note card. So what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of set up like a mini synopsis chart. So first thing we're going to write on the top is endings. So the endings are O/M, because sometimes it's M, S, T, mus, tis, unt. Okay? O, S, T, M, U, S, T, I, S, N, T. Those are your endings. Now, what you're going to write here, okay, you make a little synopsis chart. So you're going to write present, imperfect, future, perfect, pluperfect, future perfect. Bloop. Just like that. Please make that be your note card. And what we're going to be writing here is how you translate each of these tenses in the active voice, which is, of course, what you've been doing this whole time. So present tense is blanks. Imperfect tense is was, were, blanking. Future tense is will, blank. Perfect tense is did, blank, blanked, or has, have, blanked. Pluperfect can only be had, and then it's blanked. And then future perfect is the future tense word, which is will, the perfect tense word, which is have, and then blanked. So please write that down on your note card. Pause, write this down, and then come back. Now, on the passive voice, we're going to be doing the exact same thing, except we're going to be doing the passive things. So the endings for the passive voice are as follows: aristor, murmurantor. So I struggled with teaching this to students until about 10 years ago, and I had a student named Bellator who came up with a song. Not a Colby Shumway song, but a song that actually makes sense, and it's set to the song Soul Sister. Hey, like to get your attention, and that's how Soul Sister starts. Aristor, mur, mini, unter. It's the passive voice, Bellator's choice. Okay, so hey, just to get your attention. Passive voice, hey. And then the endings are r, ris, ter, mer, mini, unter. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. Hey, r, ris, ter, mer, mini, unter. It's the passive voice, Bellator's choice. Blah, 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 blah. There's no more to the song. If you want to keep singing the song, feel free. Okay, so once you've written that down, now again, down here, you're going to make like a list of the tenses. So present, imperfect, future, perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect. Okay, so make the little chart. Now, how do you make each of these active voice translations passive voice? So for the present tense, it's is slash am slash are blanked. Okay, so Magistra is loved. For the imperfect, we're adding some form of the verb to be to each of these translations. So for the imperfect, it's was, were, being, that's the added word, blanked. Okay? Was or were, being blanked. Future tense. Future tense is always translated as will, and then we have to add some form of the word to be. So what we're going to be adding is be. For instance, Magistra will be loved by future students, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Okay, perfect tense. Has, have, and then we're going to have to add some form of the verb to be, been blanked. You could also say was or were blanked, but I have run out of room on my note card. Okay, so fit that in somehow. Another option is was slash were blanked for perfect tense. Okay, pluperfect, had, and then we have to add been blanked. And then the future perfect, future tense, will, perfect tense, have, passive voice, been, and then blanked. Okay? Pause it if you need to fill this in. And then I have one more tip. Down here on this final blank space, I want you to write by zombies. A lot of kids struggle to translate the passive voice. If you can add the phrase by zombies and it still makes sense, it's passive voice. Okay? So for example, Magistra loves her students by zombies. That doesn't make sense. The students are loved by zombies makes sense. Okay? If you can add by zombies, you have correctly translated the passive voice. If you cannot add by zombies, it's not passive voice, it's active voice, okay? So we are going to be practicing this for the rest of your Latin lives, okay? So if you're like, oh, this feels awful, we're going to practice it a lot, okay? So when do you use the passive voice? The passive voice, in the passive voice, the subject is no longer the doer of the action. So active voice, Magistra loves her students. I am doing that. I care for you. In the passive voice, the students are loved. The subject in that sentence is students. The students are loved. The students are the important part. Not the students are the subject. They are the focus. Who's doing the action is not important. The doer of a passive voice verb is not important. So, for example, when might you use that? You might use it in English when you're using science, when you're discussing scientific discoveries. Scientific discoveries are not about the discoverer, it's about the science. You'll notice the police often use the passive voice. A crime was perpetrated at, blah, blah, blah. They do that on purpose. It's because they don't know who did it, first of all, or if they do have a suspicion, it's alleged. So they can't say this person definitely did it. So a crime was committed as opposed to someone committed a crime. So when you want to draw attention away from the doer, then you use the passive voice. You've probably received feedback in English class that you should never use the passive voice. This is actually not true. What is true is you shouldn't use the passive voice if the active voice is called for. Okay, the active voice is much more engaging. It's much more vibrant, vivid, and that's generally better for writing. But it's not always the best way to go. If you want to take attention away from the doer is not the critical piece. If it's scientific discovery or if it's in the legal sense, whether it's like an attorney or a police officer, the passive voice might be the way to go. So obviously, in this class, we're going to be working on recognizing the soul sister endings. Hey, ar, rister, mer, mini, unter. It's the passive voice. Okay, we're going to be working on recognizing those endings. And then, of course, correctly translating the words when we do see them. Thanks, kids.